Business of Drag and Me with your host, the wonderful Braden. We'll talk about taxes, we'll talk about business, we'll talk about life. Spill the tea. See you there. Ow, whoa.
All right, friends, welcome back to the show. As always, this is your host, Braden, and today I am joined by a very special guest, Fena. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm wonderful, incredible, breathing.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing all of those things as well. I just had like an early lunch. That was great. Probably need to get a coffee refill soon, but I know lunch at like 10:30 a.m. But
That's
you know,
very, very gay Hollywood.
yeah. That was first lunch, and then second lunch will be after we record. First question for you as we get started. Can you share with us what your preferred name and pronouns are in and out of drag? And when I say out of drag, I mean like if someone were to watch the show and see you in the airport, like how you would want them to greet you.
Oh, I mean, everybody calls me Fena. I understand it's like a weird name, but it's my drag name. So Fena or Ryan, he or she, or they, or any of that are acceptable to me.
Okay, cool. I always like to ask because I also know that some drag talent, they don't even really like to share their like out of drag name with the public. So always good to ask. But Ryan or Fena.
Oh, I'm very familiar with that. I know queens from way back in the day that had their name changed in the phone book.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Like a real life alias.
Oh, back in like the 90s. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to do a lightning round of questions. How do you feel about that?
Great. Let's go.
Okay, cool. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Okay, coffee. Are you a fan of 𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗖𝗟𝗔𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗥𝗦? Do you know her?
Oh, yes.
Love her. Okay, great. Beer, wine, cocktails, or mocktails?
At the moment, mocktails, I'm not like in AA or anything. But like alcohol, just, I don't know, it's messing with me lately.
Sure. We do brunch a lot, and I'm like always the one person at brunch drinking coffee because I say it medicates my ADHD. So that's like what I'm doing on a daily basis.
Atta girl.
Okay, you have the night off of work. Are you staying in or going out?
Ooh, if I'm alone, I'm staying in. If there are people visiting, I will go out to the movies.
To the movies. Okay, I like that. And I was like, now that you're in LA, you probably have people visiting all the time, I would imagine. How long have you been in Los Angeles?
So I moved here December 2016.
Oh, okay. So a while.
Yeah,
you've been there for a while. Okay, great. Do you miss Boston at all?
I miss some of the people, but not the actual city. And I go back. I go back to visit, yeah.
Okay, on my to-do list. All right, so continuing the lightning round, do you have a favorite season of Drag Race?
Oh, God. I mean, well, currently, no, because I haven't been on it yet.
Okay, so that will be your favorite season. Although, when I ask a few of the other queens, I asked them what their favorite season was other than the season they were on. So I don't know if I'm let you off the hook that easy.
Other than the season that I will be on, I think my favorite season is probably 6 and 7. Like the end of 6 and the beginning of 7.
Got it. Okay. Who have you rooted for hardest on the show who was not a close personal friend of yours before they got on the show? So someone who you like didn't really know who they were, but you're like, oh, I love this bitch.
I mean, season 3, it was Raja. Like 1,000%. I thought she was so cool.
Yeah, and iconic.
So sleek. Love watching her move.
Love her. Yes. Okay. What's your favorite go-to lip sync song?
Well, famously, I do a lot of live recordings, and I think my all-time favorite, it teeters between Pink's version of Bohemian Rhapsody and from the Funhouse tour, and Madonna's Like a Prayer from MDNA.
So by live recordings, you mean you're lip syncing to their live performances or you're singing?
I'm not singing. I'm lip syncing to their live performances with a microphone, the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Where is your favorite place to perform?
My favorite place to perform currently is Precinct.
Okay, beautiful. Favorite month of the year for drag? Like your favorite work month, basically.
I mean, I'm so picky in particular, but I love like a cooler month because it's cool outside. So anytime in like December, January.
Okay, I like that. All right, final lightning round question. If you had to put me in drag and choose something for me to perform, like coach me through the process, what would it be?
Oh, it would have to be money. That's what I want.
Okay, why that?
Because you're a tax guy.
Okay, got it.
I see green. I see nothing but green.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I like that. We'll have to workshop a performance or something. All right, crushed the lightning round. Absolutely crushed it. Let's get into some more fun questions, shall we? First of all, to prep for this interview, I just listened to your episode on 𝗗𝗚𝗦𝗟𝗏𝗦, which was fabulous. When did you record that?
A few weeks ago.
Okay, cool. With
Meatball and Big Dipper, yeah.
Yes, love that. So it was fabulous. And what I've been doing is on these episodes, I kind of start with asking you like how you got started in drag, all that kind of stuff. But you talked about that on that other podcast. So I thought we'd get into some different questions. And I'm going to tell people to go listen to that one if they want to hear more about the Fena Barbitall origin story. How does that sound?
Great.
Okay, cool. So people should go listen. And instead, I want to kick this off with a broad but specific question, a little bit of a contradiction. But I want to ask if you can share all of the ways that you make money and get paid as a full-time drag professional.
Sure. So as well as like performing and getting tips, I also style wigs.
You can see that it is a lace front wig, which means there is lace in the front of the wig. The advantage of a lace front is that there is a bit of lace right here, which helps to disguise the fact that it's a piece of plastic on your head.
And I work behind the scenes for Trixie and Katya on shows like We Like to Watch and
Hi there, I'm Katya, and today in the studio we have a very special ooky spooky guest.
I'm Trixie Mattel, the very fat, full, and lovely, luscious Trixie Mattel. I have a makeup company, I won Drag Race, and here I am. I'm Fena Barbitall.
And we are two queens who like to watch.
Ooh. You didn't pay the bill.
and a couple other here and there things with them working behind the scenes. I guess that's not really my personal drag related, but it's in the world of drag. I've been known to make a costume here and there. I'm not like a great seamstress, but I can get by. So I mainly just kind of like help.
Your YouTube channel, you're going to be monetizing that soon, right?
I have no idea. No idea. No idea.
Okay.
But yeah, I literally just started doing things. This is my thing. I didn't get into drag to become rich and famous. I started drag way before Drag Race. So at the time, my achievable goal was to be like a Lady Bunny or a Jackie B or Coco Peru or someone that like, worked all the time and got to travel places. But the goal was never like to be like this rich and famous. So now that I'm like in a group where I'm seeing my very close friends go on to achieve not extreme wealth, but extreme success.
Yeah.
That has become like the upper like stepping stone. So I never set out to try and be rich.
Yeah.
But it's not a.
Are you saying Lady Bunny is not rich or famous?
No. I'm saying I never set out to be like rich, like, it's different now. Wouldn't you say? Would you say drag rich is different now than it was like 15, 20 years ago?
Oh yeah, for sure. Of course, you have the perspective of actually doing this as a profession, right? I don't have that perspective, but definitely like the fandom is huge. And when the fandom has gotten so much bigger, it means there's obviously more money involved all the way around. So yeah, it's turned into like an entire industry, definitely.
Yeah.
So the reason why I really like to get into these questions is because it's not about becoming extraordinarily wealthy, right? But it's about, you know, this is your art and your passion. And at the end of the day, whenever someone has an art and a passion, if they want to do it full time, you got to be able to pay the bills in order not have another job, right?
In Hollywood,
yeah, you talked about on Sloppy Seconds how you worked for Mac for a long time. Eventually, you were able to step away from that job, or maybe you had to step away from that job. Once you went full time in your drag, was that a scary move for you, or was it already financially sustainable enough to do that?
So it was around 2008 in that financial crash when they were laying a lot of people off from Mac. And I had to like really look at it like, okay, drag is starting to pick up for me at that point. And the Mac thing is like, okay, I don't want to make this same paycheck every week for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I want to go do this thing where there's risks and ups and downs, rather more interesting, I'd say. So it wasn't scary because I was at an age where, you know, things just aren't scary when you're in your mid 20s like that. You know, you can take more risks. But I will say at 31, 32, when I moved cross country from Boston to Los Angeles to literally start at the bottom, that was probably the biggest, riskiest move I've ever made.
Yeah, because I imagine when you were in Boston, I mean, you were fully booked at that point, right? Like doing multiple gigs a week and everything. So when you're moving, is like you have to kind of get known in the clubs all over again?
Yeah, you're literally starting from the bottom all over again.
So let's talk about some of these different, I'll call them categories that you mentioned. So what I always tell people to think about, like when we're talking about taxes, very sexy, very exciting. I tell people to think about all of their revenue as a pie, right? So each of those is a piece of your pie. They're different revenue streams. Do you mind sharing? I'm not going to ask you for dollar figures unless you like really want to share them, but would you mind sharing what percentage of the pie each of these different categories make up? So like performing, wig styling, doing work with Trixie and Katya, and then costumes.
Costumes is nearly
like 1%,
like less than 1%.
Okay.
Wig styling and working for Trixie and Katya are the biggest money makers currently, with doing shows creeping up. So I'd say it's almost like an even sense to the pie.
Gotcha. Okay, so the shows are creeping up. Is that because you're still, I guess you've been out in LA for a while now. Is it because you're getting more and more gigs in LA? Or are you just focusing on that more? Or how's that taking up more of the pie share, so to speak?
I've been focusing more on doing more drag performances again. Because like back in Boston, I was in drag so many nights a week. And when I moved here, it was knocked down to maybe I was doing it once a month.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So now like I can be more like, you know, choosy with what I do. But at the same time, like I kind of miss being a regular multi times a week performer. So I'm just trying to get back into that more. But it's hard, you know, in a city like this, like I'm not a pushy person. I always like to be asked because I feel like that was a respectful thing in Boston. But here it's like a whole different scenario. Like you have to be like constantly on top of the people that are booking the shows to like have your name in there. Whereas in Boston, when I was booking a show, I reached out to all the girls.
So you have to be your own PR person in LA.
I'm so bad at that. I think it's like a overload of modesty.
Yeah. Well, you gotta hype yourself up. Be like, bitch, I'm the best. You better book me.
I feel like my performance speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And that's something that you don't get a lot of these days, is like my performance speaks for itself. And it's how I've always felt.
Okay. So speaking of, if we all go to a Fena Barbitall show, what are we going to see? What should we expect? I talked about that a little bit, but
I mean, expect the unexpected when you come to see my show. Absolutely expect the unexpected. Expect to be pulled in. Expect for eye contact. Expect for someone that I don't take life too seriously, but I do take what I do seriously. And there's, equal parts emotion and comedy and, all that kind of wrapped up into one.
Beautiful. I like that. I always say that like in business, I like to work with people who take their business as seriously, but they don't take themselves too seriously. So it's kind of a similar vibe mantra, so to speak. Okay. So performing tips, you're saying that you're starting to do more of that. And like in an ideal world, how many times a week would you perform?
Well, the goal right now is to be able to build a fandom, to be able to launch something on the road. So I would love to go on a tour. I'd love to take whatever I do on the road. And that could be like, you know, as many nights as a week as it takes. I'm a workhorse.
Yeah.
You know, I'll do whatever it takes. It's just at the moment, it's working its way there. But
Gotcha.
That's the goal.
And when you say like when that's the goal, is it your goal to like go to your own venues or to go tour like other bars, clubs, and drag shows in other local cities?
I mean, all of it. I would like the absolute, like the next big goal besides like, I think going and doing the bars and gay clubs and things like that is like so special because you get to meet all these people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you really get to build a connection with people and like bar owners and promoters and all that. The next level up is to do a production style stage show tour, which I have a few like rough ideas for.
Nice.
So these are all things that I kind of, I discovered this about myself while touring with Trixie a few years back, that like I never thought that I could do something like that. But then like seeing it happen in front of me, I was like, oh, this is absolutely possible. And like the ideas were already there. And you know, so those are definitely in the sphere. In the
Okay,
goal.
cool. In planning mode. I like that. All right, I think we'll probably come back to that in a minute, but I want to talk about wig styling from someone that is going to be asking you questions who knows absolutely nothing about wigs or hairstyling in general. So this could be interesting, but I'm curious, are you doing wig styling primarily for other drag professionals? Are you doing it like for trans women, cis women, anyone who wants to wear a wig? Like who's your primary like clientele for wig styling?
My primary clientele is local girls here in LA. I'm not opposed to doing something for someone that lives anywhere else and shipping and all that stuff. But in Boston, we didn't have a wig stylist. We didn't have like costumers really. Everybody kind of had a little thing that they did. And we all kind of relied on ourselves to do that. So here, I like to be, you know, the girl that the local girls can come to for, you know, a simple style, a big style, anything.
Yeah.
So primarily it's those girls. And I have actually been lucky enough to work with some really big names and people on Drag Race. And, you know, this past Super Bowl, I got to do a wall of wigs for a Super Bowl party where I styled 100 wigs on a wall. I threw my shoulder out, like I was out of.
I hope that paid well. So did you have to go like buy a shit ton of wigs, or I'm assuming you don't just have that many like around?
Oh yeah, it paid well. It paid well. Maybe it could have paid more. I don't know. I need a manager.
All right. Well, we'll put that on your to-do list.
Yeah.
Manager. So I'm curious, when you have local folks hiring you to do wigs, what level are they typically at their career? What I'm really curious about is that service that you provide. Is it affordable for like brand new people entering the scene? Is it mostly like established folks who are fully booked? How much money are people wanting to spend on their drag, I guess, is part of the question. That was like 18 questions at once, but you know, feel free to go in whatever direction you want.
Well, I think it's for everyone. Like I've had all walks of, you know, queens that have been doing it for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, to queens that have been, this is their first time and this is like a special thing and it's like a treat for themselves. I have other girls that like are constantly doing things that need newer stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like I was charging on like a sliding scale of like difficulty, doing an hourly rate. And you know, there are people that gave me work when I first moved here, when I first started styling hair. that have been loyal to me ever since and have like, you know, noticed that, oh, this girl needs like, you know, some money here. Can you like do this? And like, I'll pay you for it. Those people, now that I've become like, you know, bigger, I will always be loyal to them.
Nice.
Like I'll say 𝗗𝗚𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗦 and 𝗵𝗡 are incredibly like long time loyal people that I love styling for.
I love that. I went, so you'll have to tell 𝗵𝗡 the next time you see her. I went to Alaska's drag pageant. I don't remember the very comedically long name they gave it.
I was there.
Her performance was hilarious. It was awesome.
Oh yeah. I did all her wigs. I did all her wigs for that.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, unfortunately, I left like partway through that, but that was because I was there for DragCon and I did not get a hotel that night. So I had to drive back to San Diego. It's like 2.5 hours. So I went for a good portion of it, but I watched everyone's talents and left after that. But it was really fun. All right, so let's say, okay, hypothetical. So I come to you and I'm like, hey, I need a wig. Can you help me? What's that process look like?
Well, usually I say a lot of uncomfortable things about my personal life right off the bat.
Okay, great.
Just to try and scare you off.
Sure. And you're trying to repel the business. You do need a businessman, sure, I think.
And then usually I say, you know, what's your stance on whether or not Bush did 9/11? And then,
sure. Okay, conspiracy is great.
Exactly. You know, what do you think happened there? You know, steel beams, gasoline, I don't know. And then I go with like references, pictures. What is it that you want? Is it something you've seen me do already that you want like your own version of? And then we discuss pricing. And then if they have a deadline, then I can do it by deadline. I've been become known for having a pretty quick turnover rate.
Yeah. Do you ever charge a rush fee?
I have, when it was like I had to pay extra for like shipping or something. Like,
got it.
Another small, like, here's the thing. I do so many projects and so many things where it's hard to decide like, okay, yes, I want to do the tour. I want to be in drag and I want to do that. But I do wigs so often. Should I be like buying wholesale wigs?
Maybe, if it's cheaper.
It's strange. Like I haven't gone down that route yet. But so I do have to order the wigs online and, you know, that can cost and everything's gone up. All the prices have gone up.
Yeah. Well, for everything. It's like a nightmare. Yeah. So to give like a real firm example, let's talk about like one of those wigs behind you, maybe the blonde one. How much would that cost me if I said, hey, I want one of those wigs?
So like the blonde one? I mean, that's just some like shitty thing I did for myself. But like, if you wanted like this is something that's for 𝗵𝗡, and she gave me the hair to style.
Okay, so she didn't have to pay for the hair.
Right. So this style, it's not finished fully yet, but usually it's about, for a single wig, it's between like 180, 150, depending. Sometimes it's less if I don't have to clean it. Like sometimes the girls will bring me like a used wig that I have to like brush and clean and wash and do all the stuff that costs extra. But if it's a fresh brand new wig, usually around 150 to style it. If it's a double stack, 250.
And how much time does that take you?
It can take a long time. It can take like a full day because,
oh my God. Okay.
If you're cleaning a wig and you're like steaming it and getting all the knots out and cleaning the lace, and then you're doing a roller set, steaming that, and then that has to physically dry before you can unroll it. So for that, like, you know, plastic hair to dry, it can take a whole day.
Yeah.
And then taking it out, then teasing it, brushing it and styling it and smoothing it and all that stuff.
And you said, I watched your YouTube videos that are out so far. We'll link those in the description for everyone. You mentioned, I think in the first one, like a good lace front should start around $50 and that people shouldn't pay less than that. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I get that queens are on a budget, especially now, everything like prices going up. But like a lace front wig, if you wanted to last, like it wouldn't pay less than like $50 or $60.
Yeah.
I mean, and even since making those videos, they've gone up since then.
Oh, a lot. So when again, not a wig expert, but when I think of like nice hair, like big hair, of course, there's a lot of like queens that come into my mind. But like the first person that pops into my mind is Alyssa Edwards. Like, do you think she's spending a lot more than $50 on her lace front wigs?
Well, she's also not buying just a lace front wig out of the bag. It's styled for her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, those wigs are very expensive.
Like custom styled. Question. I don't know if here's the thing. I still don't know who the audience of this podcast is going to be. It's mostly going to be other queens, I'm imagining, because we're talking about the business. So they're going to chuckle at this question. Explain to me what the difference between a lace front and a hard front wig is.
I have one.
Okay, beautiful. You have a hard front wig?
Yes. So,
because my only context is, you know, people making like shady jokes that I hear, you know, on TV.
Well, the hard fronts are making a comeback. The key to a hard front is bangs.
Okay, to cover up the hairline, I guess.
Yeah. So this is a hard front wig from Wigs by Vanity.
Okay.
It's really great quality. As you can see, there's no lace there.
Okay.
No lace part. But the bang covers it, and the side pieces and the layers on the side cover it.
So why are they making a comeback? Are they like easier to like put on, or what? COVID?
Uh-huh. The lace front factories in China were shut down for such a long period of time, and it was hard to get people back in, from what I understand, to like, you know, learn how to make them and yada, yada, yada. So it was easier to have a hard front made by machine, whereas some lace fronts are like hand tied or whatever.
And I've heard in some YouTube video in some point in time, like someone said, oh, you know, like back in the day, only RuPaul had lace front wigs and now everyone has them. Is it just because like there were not big factories making them at a certain point in time and they were like custom? Like, is that why they were a lot more expensive?
Absolutely. I mean, they hadn't been really factory made until I don't even remember the year, but I remember my first like lace front wig, and I was like one of the first queens in Boston to have like a lace front wig that she wore for a show.
Nice.
And it felt, oh God, it felt so rich.
Yeah, because I always wonder, I'm assuming that more people have them because they've gotten cheaper, but also it could be because people are now just willing to spend so much more money on their drag. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it's both.
It's both. Okay. Do you think that Drag Race has kind of like made people think that they need to spend a lot more money because they're seeing like extravagant, like custom looks and wigs and everything on television all the time?
I think for some people, yes, because for some people, that's part of their drag. Yeah. They enjoy that. They enjoy working really hard, putting this look together, you know, having someone custom make them an outfit and like hair and all that. And they love that aspect to it.
Yeah.
But I think there's the people that usually end up being beloved by the fans on Drag Race are sometimes the people that come with handmade things that they either, you know, beg, borrow, or stole.
That's like Mo Hart, one of my favorites, was, you know, like making half of her looks during her first season. I think they talked about that.
Yes.
Love her. Okay, I have another silly question for you. When I watched your video, so in your first YouTube video, you were cutting a bob. You cut off a shit ton of hair. Do all those hair scraps just go in the trash? Do they get repurposed for something? Oh, that's a really silly question, but I'm like, I don't know. Maybe you make like clip-in hair pieces with them.
I will say there have been times where that excess hair gets, okay, this can get creative. So I would take that hair and I'll put it in a hairnet, and I can like tease it up and make it into like a hair bun that you place somewhere, and you can fold hair over it and like use to style with. Yeah,
doesn't 𝗗𝗜𝗦 use like a lot of those like little hair pieces, or she did at one point in time?
I've put a lot of different hair buns in her wigs. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like I visually remember her like picking pieces of her hair out on hair ties and stuff.
Yeah.
So with regard to like the hair, I was specifically thinking like if you ever buy human hair wigs, does it ever like pain you to cut a significant amount of the hair off, or does that even happen?
So here's
because they're so expensive. They're like really expensive, aren't they?
They are more expensive, absolutely, especially if you want a really good quality one, or you know. I think it's good to, if you get one that's like more of a discounted one, like Amazon, usually the ends need trimming or something needs trimming. But if it's something that like a client wants, you know, then
you got to give the people what they want.
Yeah.
Let's talk about YouTube.
Okay.
So I am going to quote yourself to you and ask you a question about it. Okay. And you kind of alluded to this earlier. You said on Sloppy Seconds, quote, "I didn't want to wait any longer to get on a TV show to financially sustain myself." And that was said in the context of you starting the YouTube show. So hopefully I didn't get that out of context, but I'm curious like what your goal for the YouTube show is. And if you want to elaborate more on that quote.
I've auditioned for Drag Race 10, 11 times.
Mm-hmm.
And that was always for like, I feel like the years just went by so quickly, but that was always the goal. It was the stepping stone to get me to the next place that I really wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
Taking my drag everywhere and being able to be a performing artist that lived strictly off of that. And, you know, in order to like have a great stage show, you need things that do cost a lot of money. So of course, making more money and like doing like that to put it all back into the work. Anyways, that hadn't happened yet with Drag Race. So I was like, you know what? I'm aging like in a way. I'm not old, but like for drag, everyone is so young now, and I couldn't wait any longer for them to like, you know, pick me up. So I kind of had to get the ball rolling. And so I figured with YouTube, this would be a great way to put me on people's screens, to get me in their face, and to make myself into something that was, I don't know what the right word for it even is. I just wanted to like, you know, kickstart my career and get the ball rolling.
Yeah, like get your name out there, brand yourself on the internet.
Yeah, and also this is like, you know, there are a few thousand people that follow me on Instagram, and these are people that like I've either met at DragCon, met at shows, talked to online, and I've talked to them over the like past couple of years about like stuff that they would love to see from me. Mm-hmm. And you know, this is all for these people. I also make this show for my mom to watch me every, because she lives on the other side of the country and misses me.
I was actually going to ask, so if you go, I think mostly in your episode on Sloppy Seconds, but also probably on your YouTube episodes, there were multiple people, like I would say over a dozen people who commented on how soothing your voice was. I don't know if you saw any of those comments.
Yeah.
But I was like, have you considered podcasting? Have you considered podcasting more?
Here's the thing. How do I do that? Who wants to do that? Anybody want to, like, how do you do it? Is it just like YouTube where you just do it yourself? And then
it's podcasting's way. Actually, podcasting's a lot easier because you don't have to edit. You don't really, on my other podcast, I don't edit anything. I just do a one take and it gets up. I have a VA that uploads it. With YouTube, you gotta, you know, like edit the videos, and I don't know. I think podcasting's actually easier. But
I have to say, I love the process of doing the YouTube. My friend Steven Zakari, who is a stand-up comic, he does the editing, and he's so freaking funny. He gets me so much. The look to the camera and everything like that, the video that came out yesterday, it's so good. He's so brilliant at what he does because he gets comedy because he's a comic. He's a funny person. But that's been the great part about doing YouTube, is seeing it. But I see what you're saying. Like, yeah, people love my voice. I think that I'm like screaming at people. But
No.
when I watch it back, I'm like.
No, I think that we all do that. So personally, like I always feel like that I have I feel like I have a very dynamic voice, and then I listen. Yep. But then I listen to the recordings of myself, and it's like so dead. There's like no modulation of my voice whatsoever. It's just like all flat tone.
No. It's a no for me.
Which is interesting. I think that we all have like one perspective of our voice, and then the reality is a different thing. For you though, I mean, what you're doing on your YouTube channel is so visual, but like you can't teach people how to style a wig on a podcast. So obviously, you know, it would have to be different content.
I would love to do it.
Yeah.
My friend Gwen, who is going to be featured on a later episode, me and her, our dynamic on screen, I guess, came out so well. And she said to me, she's a transgendered woman, she's like, we should do a podcast called Trans Fats.
And
Which I think would be really funny. I don't know. People might think it was like it's too offensive or whatever. So I'm not here to offend people. I'm just, you know what I mean, here to make people laugh. So
I mean, it sounds like it'd be fun. What would you talk about?
I mean, we literally will sit on the phone and like talk to each other, talk shit about literally everything for an hour. So even that. So who knows? Maybe like that's a really good idea. Thank you for like saying that. That's a really interesting thing I never thought about.
Floated by your people, right? But my follow-up question is always like, okay, but like, what's your goal with that, right? Like, it's one thing totally if you're just like, oh, that sounds like a blast, I want to do it. Like, do it, but you got a lot of shit going on. So it's like, if this thing needs to make me some money, like, what's the goal for it, right? As I can tell you, like with Mom Podcast and with like the Wow Podcast Network, they all like, that's a production company, right? It's like I'm assuming that they get paid for their episodes. My podcast doesn't make any money from that perspective. I'm using it as a marketing channel to get clients. So that's how it's monetized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's getting your name out there, like showing people what you can do.
Yes. Okay. Any tips from you to me as one relatively new YouTuber to another? I'm asking you for coaching on my podcast show.
You gotta have patience. With yourself. Patience with yourself, and give yourself some credit. Cool. And you have to have a good time. Whatever you're putting out, you have to enjoy it. You have to make sure that it's very you, represents you. And I mean, YouTube is a scary, strange thing to someone like me who, like, you know, I have learning disabilities and I have, you know, years of not doing anything that required a calculator or staring at a computer. So it takes time to really get it. But, you know, having the right people around you too really helps.
Good. Well, I'm enjoying it thus far. I was curious when I started. I was like, these are the conversations I really want to have, right? Because I love drag. I love, you know, watching it. Well, I really am a huge consumer of YouTube, which is why I'm now doing this YouTube video. I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, but I'm like, no one really talks about the business side of drag. I frankly don't know if anyone wants to talk about it or listen to it, but we are about to find out.
I'm very interested in it because it's something that, for an old queen like myself, I still, like, you know, the IRS listening, I still keep cash in a box under my bed.
Well, we're gonna talk about that. We'll talk about that. Okay, so you mentioned earlier that you do work with Trixie and Katya specifically for queens who like to watch, and also on their YouTube show, right, which we all have a hard time pronouncing. Do you tour with them as well, or are you doing everything that they film like locally in LA?
Currently, just everything they film locally in LA. I was touring with them, but in order to get like my YouTube launched, like I you know, touring's a lot, and this year they're on tour like 11 months out of the year, and it's a lot, and I just couldn't. Yeah,
because I know that they were doing their tour together. And then they took a break, but like Trixie took a break to do her own tour, and now they're back.
She took a 5-second break while she got on a plane to go to her next tour. Yeah.
And now they're touring again together while Trixie like had an album launch and also while they have their TV show. So you were actually on an episode of I Like to Watch.
Couldn't think of a more fortuitous occasion for you to venture from behind the camera to in front of it.
I can. I'd like to say that this is the long con.
Okay, it's been in the works for years.
This is not the end of the long con. Just you wait.
Very happy to have you here, honey.
Well, I told Trixie I wanted half of the cosmetic company.
That's
and
fair.
I wanted one of her homes.
I'll drink to that.
Particularly the one that her mom lives in.
The trailer?
No, I want to share it with her.
You're her mom now.
How much fun did you have watching Twilight for Netflix?
Let me tell you.
Had you seen it before?
Not that one. I had seen the first one in the theater when it came out, and I thought they were just wretched and rotten. But the team and the people working on I Like to Watch, there's this woman, Jennifer, who like is a producer there, and she's so incredible. She has my back the whole time because, you know, during the pandemic, when we were filming at home, I was the one behind the camera, setting up the camera, the lights, the sound, everything. And she was helping me do this over Zoom with other people that have gone to school for this for years. So they're like, you know, so I've worked with her like closely, and she's so great at her job. So that aspect was incredible. I felt very supported. And then to sit across from the human cigarette, someone that I've known for like, you know, over, oh God, almost 2 decades. God, it was so much fun. It was a dream come true. It was honestly a dream come true.
So I'm assuming when they review series, they're not like, or seasons, they're not watching the entire season. And I'm assuming they're getting clips, right?
Oh, we're watching.
The whole season?
We're watching a huge portion of that.
Okay. Because I was going to ask, when you did Twilight, because you did 2 movies, did you watch the full, like both movies? Because if so, I would imagine that's like probably like an 8-hour filming day or something.
Oh, we get there and film all day. Yes, ma'am. I'm sitting, when I'm not like, you know, in front of the camera, I'm behind the camera with a monitor watching and listening and watching the whole thing along with them. And by the end, it like, when I filmed it, it felt like it went by like that.
Uh-huh.
And I said at the end, I was like, that's it? I could do 10 more of these. But when, like, you know, when you're actually like, you know, watching from the back, it is such a large portion.
Even though when I feel like when you're behind the camera, it's probably so much more comfortable than like sitting in camera, like on a sofa, like in full drag.
It's funny because like you are so catered to on that set. Netflix is like, anything you want. But the hardest part of the whole thing is being in drag, tucked in pads, in a corset and whatever, in a costume and wig, sitting upright on a couch. I'm a big girl too. So like, you know, my body just naturally like.
You need some like back support pillows. Yeah.
So it's funny because that is like, you know, everything else is like cake, but that's probably the hardest part.
So I'm assuming they did that was Trixie was like probably touring or something when 𝗗𝗜𝗦, because I know she did a handful of, she had 𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗏 on one episode, you on one episode, and Jinx on one episode. Did they just ask 𝗗𝗜𝗦 like, who do you want to co-host this with? And like Fena was at the top of her list naturally.
Yes. And Jennifer, 𝗗𝗜𝗦 and Jennifer, they were both like, you know, absolutely put Fena on there.
Love it. And I know you're friends with 𝗗𝗜𝗦. 𝗗𝗜𝗦 also has a special place in my heart because she is the only drag queen that follows my personal Instagram account. She does not know who I am.
Incredible.
But I think I tagged her during All Stars 5. I tagged her in an Instagram story, and I was like, my sole goal in life is to become best friends with 𝗗𝗜𝗦. And she followed me back.
Wow.
I was like, love her.
She's very down to earth.
Yes. Yeah. She seems super chill and super fun. And now I love the running joke on Twitter is everyone saying that she's like cast in every single season of Drag Race. Like I saw a TikTok that was like, they've announced the cast of the next All-Star season, and it was 𝗗𝗜𝗦 versus the world.
Or her on the thing for where they were replacing Boris Johnson. With like all the candidates
in the cabinet, like their version of the whatever the cabinet is. Yeah. Love her. I'm like, well, of course she always gets asked. She makes great TV, and she's like so chill. Yeah. This is kind of the final segment of the podcast I've been trying out. It's almost like flipping the script a little bit. So when it comes to the back end of your business, we're talking about like legal stuff, finances, taxes. What kind of questions do you have that I might be able to answer for you?
Okay. So if my goal is to, let's say, I want to purchase a small 2 or 3 bedroom house.
Yes.
In not the immediate area, but in the region of Los Angeles. What do I need to do financially with my money to make that possible in the next decade?
Sure. So first of all, you have to save for a mortgage, right? So you got to have money in the bank. So most of us know that. You have to have really good credit. Do you check your credit score?
I do, yeah.
Okay, cool. So you're on top of that, regardless of what the number is, you're checking it. So you know where you stand and what you need to do to get it to where it needs to be. Maybe you're already there. That's fantastic. But then from the tax perspective, typically they're going to ask for at least 2 years worth of tax returns. And so do you file your own taxes or do you have an accountant?
So this past year, I actually had a guy do my taxes. Dawn, do you know Dawn? Heard of Gabby Dawn?
I have heard of this person. Yes, a few people have mentioned them. Yeah.
So this is the first time I've had a person do my taxes in like a long time.
Okay. How was that process?
I think it was great. I'm like a total airhead when it comes to doing anything tax related. Like I've done them online myself and like sent them off and being like, did I do it right? I'm, but I'm in an interesting crossover where it's like I don't make enough money to be able to afford a big fancy tax person, but I also make enough money and then from enough like 1099s and W2s that I need somebody to do it for me so it's done correctly, because I want to make sure it's all
Yeah, so the main thing you need to be on top of is like definitely get your bookkeeping dialed in. Do you do your own bookkeeping or does your accountant do that?
I don't even know what are you talking about bookkeeping?
So just tracking your income and your expenses, like all your business deductions.
So this year I got a credit card. And I put everything, every time I buy a wig or hairspray or anything related to drag, I put it all on this credit card.
Nice. So what I recommend is, so I have a spreadsheet template. We'll link it like in the description for everyone else, but I can send it to you. And just once a month, you go through and you categorize everything, right? So sometimes like if you have an accountant, they'll do that for you during tax season. We charge for that because it's like separate from the tax return. We kind of expect people to bring everything summarized to us. Like, I don't want a pile of your bank statements. I want you to tell me, this is how much I spent on wigs. This is how much I spent on makeup. This is how much I spent on traveling. So logging that every month takes like 15 minutes. That's doing your bookkeeping. Then you get your tax return done. When you do your tax return, all that income and expenses are going to go on a particular tax form called your Schedule C, which shows your business profit. And then that business profit is what your mortgage lender will look at when they try to qualify you to buy a home. What happens is a lot of people do not take their finances that seriously, and they kind of make up deductions and they don't report those tips that they have sitting around because they don't want to pay taxes on them, which, understandable. But when you try to go get a house and you're like, okay, here's my tax return. It shows that I profited $30,000 because I didn't report my cash tips and I made up deductions. They're going to be like, okay, well, 30,000 is not going to be enough to approve you for this mortgage. So you kind of shot yourself in the foot by not reporting all of your income on your tax return. So that's what I see happen. Even on a lower level, when people are trying to get approved for like a car, or even like in some large metro cities require you to show tax returns to get approval to even rent an apartment.
Yes. And all of that is like, that's another goal with like, maybe with YouTube and monetization. It's like, I'd love to be able to be in a bracket where I could afford someone to like, handle all of it.
Yeah.
That's of course a goal, but yeah, I mean, doing drag back in the day, I think this is really not good, but there was I'm talking like before Drag Race, there was a point where I don't think I did my taxes for like 3 years.
Where you like didn't file them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Young, stupid, like, drunk.
Well, we're over the statute of limitations on that anyways. The IRS can't come after you for those.
Oh, I ended up filing them later. Like,
oh, okay, good. You got caught up.
It all came back. And like, since then I've definitely like built my credit.
Yeah.
And, I'm very responsible. Like with the credit card, like my best advice for anybody is when you get these credit cards to help build your credit or help like put everything on one thing, never spend more than you have. Like if I'm going to pay for something and I have the cash in my hand, I will instead use that card and then pay it off immediately on the app.
Smart.
Immediately.
Yeah, I like to pay my credit card off like once a week. That's what I do, is like every Friday. But what I did because I started out with terrible credit because I got a credit card when I was 18 when I went to college. And I put like $1,000 worth of textbooks on my credit card. I didn't have a job, so I don't know, like, but I didn't have any money. I was like, I have to have these books, and I just never paid it off. So I started like actual adulthood with shitty credit, and I had to get a secured credit card. And what I did was I think I put my Disney Plus bill on my credit card. It was like some $9 subscription, and that's all I paid for on my credit card. And I kept it in my desk drawer over here, so I couldn't even spend money on it when I was out and about. So I had a $9 charge on it, and then I had the credit card on auto pay. I was like, I should have $10 in the bank every month to pay my $10 subscription on my credit card without overdrafting my account. But I did that like for 6 months to a year until I could get like a little bit nicer of a credit card. And then I put like my gym membership on it and a couple other things. And now I'm like able to exercise just enough self-control to like use it. Like most
for me,
adults.
It was a car payment. Similarly, it was like a car payment once a month, and I didn't have this is my first credit card that I've had in like maybe 15 years, but like, yeah, definitely the laying low for a while, like for many years, like, you know, I didn't have anything lavish or expensive or crazy, like, you know, just paid my little thing every month, and slowly it built up. I have another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tax related. Is Botox and filler deductible? Talk about these deductions. Talk about these deductions here.
Yeah, it's not. So it's funny that you asked that, because I actually have that on my website. And I had 𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗟𝗏. I paid 𝗗𝗏 for a cameo to make for the outro for this podcast. So if people watch it on YouTube, they'll actually see it. And the tagline is, taxes are stressful, stress causes wrinkles, and filler is not deductible.
Taxes are stressful, stress causes wrinkles, and filler is not deductible. Hire us for help.
So hire us to help.
How can we get that like on the ballot to have?
I know we could fight for it. We could fight for it. No, generally the rule is like anything that could also be considered like a personal benefit or personal use cannot be deducted. So in drag, like a big kind of question mark area is clothing and costuming, right? I feel like some drag queens don't like the word costumes because it implies that you're costumey. Maybe that's just a drag race thing. I don't know. What do you call it? Drag clothing, drag costumes, or does it matter?
What? People are mad calling things a costume? That is so stupid.
Well, I've heard people use like, or people interpret the phrase costumey being costumey as like, who was that?
Guess what, Mary? If you're on a stage, you're doing a show, whatever you're wearing is your costume.
Maybe I'm conflating costumey with crafty. I know someone just got upset about being called crafty too. But anyhow, the question for that is, technically the rule is it appropriate for everyday use? And it's kind of like, what the fuck does that mean? But some of the examples are like, well, a firefighter uniform, they're like, that's work. It's not something you would ever use personally. I'm like, okay, well, you still like could technically. Scrubs are the same example. I'm like, you could do yoga in scrubs, but they consider it not appropriate for everyday use. So I think if you have something that's very elaborate and is drag, like it's very clearly a deduction, where it gets kind of gray, and this is something I've had a hard time explaining, but I'm starting to get better vocabulary around it, is if you are more feminine, let's say you're more feminine presenting, and you wear drag that's more just kind of like everyday wear from what you would expect from a woman, and then you're going to wear those similar types of clothes when you're not in drag. Now it's hard to say like what's drag and what's personal. But if you have like, I think Trixie's a great example, right? Because she jokes herself all the time that, you know, she looks like a crew member on Drag Race when she's out of drag. And then she has these, you know, like vintage and like 70s inspired clothes in drag. Very, very different, very clearly like a tax deductible kind of a thing.
So yet again, the IRS is coming for trans women and men.
Yeah, so this is not really, but it's something that I can imagine being an issue if someone got audited, right? So what I'm telling, I was like, first of all, you could play into the binary of everything if you really wanted to use that as a defense to your tax deductions, but we don't really want to do that. So instead, it's like what you should do is you should have, these are my drag things that I pay with my business credit card or with my business debit card. And these are my out of drag things that I pay for with my personal card. And I'm like, they're maintained separately and they have separate purposes and all that kind of stuff.
That was the main goal for me getting this card, was to like have, because when I went to have my taxes done, I was caught off guard by some of the questions of like, you know, how much did you spend this year on your drag? And I'm like,
I don't know.
A lot. I spent enough to know that all the money that I had at the beginning of the year, I don't have anymore. So.
Yeah, this is why, so this is kind of final tip for everyone. This is why it's so important to have everything separate, right? Because I had a client, like a drag client, we're talking like hundreds of transactions on Amazon. And I'm like, how much drag are we buying on Amazon? A lot, apparently. But we're going through item by item. Is this personal? Is this business? Is this personal or is this business? So instead, just have 2 Amazon accounts, buy all of your drag from your drag account, buy all your personal stuff from your personal account. And then when it comes to tax season, you just give those statements to your accountant, or you hopefully have your bookkeeping. It's all separate and you don't have to question anything.
Well, that's why every drag item that I purchased on Amazon, I used the credit card.
Yes.
And all my personal items are with my debit.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, Fena, as we wrap up, tell everyone where they should go to subscribe to your YouTube channel and how they can find you and follow you and maybe give you money.
So you can go to my YouTube channel. It's Fena Barbitall. Subscribe, watch the videos. I think you'll like them. They're not too long. They're actually pretty quick.
Compared to this interview in particular, yeah.
Oh, I could talk to you for hours. You actually have a great voice for podcasting.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You can go to my Instagram, and I have a link tree that has all the links in it for everything and little clips of my videos. There's also my Venmo, my PayPal, my da-da-da-da-da. I'm starting out a TikTok where I'm learning how to dance or whatever. Not at all, not doing the dancing. I have a Twitter account. What else? I have a Facebook account that I don't have anything on because I absolutely, I don't support. I deleted my Facebook account when everything went super crazy. That's kind of it. Other than that, you can find me at Precinct once a month. You Got Mail. And,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, we will put the links for all your social accounts, your website, everything in the description of the video, in the podcast show notes if people are listening. Fena, thank you so much for coming on the show and being such a great guest.
Thank you for having me. It's wonderful.
Hi everyone, it's me, 𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗖𝗟𝗔𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗥𝗦 from the cast of season 12 of RuPaul's Drag Race. Do you need help doing your taxes? Of course you do. You're stupid, but you're pretty. You might be a drag queen and you can do dips and splits and all of that other stuff. You can grab $1, $2, but are you paying Uncle Sam? If you don't know how, you need help, and that's why you need Business of Drag. That's right, you need Business of Drag. Taxes are a drag. Tune in for help from a pro. All right, all you drag performers out there, taxes are stressful. We all know tax season. Taxes are stressful, stress causes wrinkles, and filler is not deductible. Hire us for help. You need it. You really, really do. Hey everyone at home. Ooh, there goes my titty. That is not deductible. Okay. Hey everybody, it's me, 𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗖𝗟𝗏 from the cast season. Hey everybody, it's me, 𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗏 from the cast season 12 of RuPaul's Drag Race, and I'm here to tell you that if you're stupid and pretty just like me, you might need help on your taxes, because taxes are a drag. But you need to tune in for help. Oh, motherfucker! God damn it, I got this wrong. Okay, one more time. Sorry. Hi everyone, it's me, 𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗏 from the cast season 12 of RuPaul's Drag Race. You guys, if you're like me, you're beautiful, absolutely gorgeous, stunning. People run down the street just to get a look at you. But you're also insanely stupid and not good at doing things like math or handling your money. That's why Business of Drag is here. Taxes are a drag. Tune in for help from a pro. Might I add, taxes are stressful. Stress causes wrinkles and filler is not deductible. No deductee. Hire us for help. You need it. Business of Drag! Pay your taxes. Pay your taxes. Pay your taxes. Or Uncle Sam will do a split on your throat, metaphorically speaking. Do your taxes.